Microsoft put out their earnings call, and while there were a few interesting points to be seen during this report, there was one comment near the end of the presentation that I found interesting, and I wanted to read it along with you. Let's dive into everything right now. So first things first, revenue was around 61%. Let's dive into some of the more interesting quotes from the Verge article, who did a good job breaking it down. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood said the company's device revenue will continue to decline next quarter in low to mid single digits. Windows OEM revenue should be relatively flat next quarter, in line with the PC market, according to Hood. Now, this is a continuation of their continued decline in the hardware market, something that has me wondering if they should really continue doubling down on hardware the way that they have in the past. It's very clear that the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S are not going to meet sales expectations, at least not the sales expectations that Microsoft had. And we've seen some changes in their marketing where they're saying no Xbox needed. They're reinforcing that they're doubling down on PC, which Satya Nadella discussed near the end of the call, and we're going to get into that in a moment. And while they have made a big announcement about new hardware coming down the pipeline, I have to wonder, is that going to be the last iteration of hardware that we see, and will technology catch up to the point where we'll all be using things like the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K? Because I've been doing some testing over at IGN. The input latency is greatly improved from where it was. Granted, that's my personal experience. It's not indicative of what everybody will experience, but I do have to wonder, how much longer will they be betting on hardware? There was one good piece of news in all this, though. Xbox content and services revenue, which includes Xbox Game Pass, is up by 61% this quarter. Without Activision Blizzard revenues, Xbox content and service revenues will still have been up 3% year over year. They are seeing significant growth percentages in this respect, and I do think it is notable to point out that Microsoft is growing in the areas that I assumed that they would grow. I always did that funny hand graph, and the big consideration for that was that Xbox content is available everywhere. It's not just available on PC. It's not just available on console. You're not sort of locked in to these devices, so to speak. You're able to sort of play where you want, and that was a big strength for them, in my opinion. Now, I believe I have the chart up here, so hopefully somewhere. There it is. Yeah, so you can see the growth percentages. OEM growth was 4%. Device revenue growth, it looked like, I believe the brackets mean it's down year over year. Content and services up 61%, and search and news advertising revenue up 19%. So they are growing in some sectors, but here's what The Verge had to say about the hardware challenge that they're facing. Despite the poor Xbox hardware revenue, gaming revenue at Microsoft is up 44% overall, helped again by the additional Activision Blizzard revenue. In fact, that revenue added 48 points. So overall, gaming revenue at Microsoft would have been down 4% if the company hadn't acquired Activision Blizzard. So yet again, it does seem that buying Activision was an intelligent purchase that has helped bolster the gaming portfolio. We now have over 500 million monthly active users across platforms and devices, said Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella on an earnings call. Our content pipeline has never been stronger. Next quarter, Microsoft is expecting Xbox content and services revenue to increase in the low to mid 50s, according to Hood. Overall gaming revenue will also increase in the mid 30s with 40 points from Activision Blizzard. Hood says Xbox hardware revenue will again decline year over year. So they are predicting that hardware revenue will go down as opposed to going up. And that is just going to be a continuing theme that I think we see in these earnings reports. Another continuing theme is that in the middle of every video, I say, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that like button to help the video get shared. Also, thanks for watching, everybody, so far. Now, let's get into some of these quotes, because at the end of the call, there was a very important question about how they see gaming. They actually have the transcript here. The question was more specifically, Xbox content services grew 61%, 58 points from Activision. Net is about 3 points of growth. How should investors think about the longer-term growth potential in this area? You made significant investments, including the Activision deal, but how should investors be thinking about growth potential of the gaming, or what are the puts and takes to help make considerations here? Thank you. Now, the reason I think this is significant is because of how Amy Hood and Satya Nadella responded. They said as follows. Amy Hood's was more important. I do think the real goal here is to be able to take a broad set of content to more users in more places and really build what looks more like, to us, a software annuity and subscription business with enhanced transactions and the ownership of IP, which is quite valuable long term. And Satya mentioned things where with the ownership of IP, it can be monetized in multiple ways. And I think we're really encouraged by some of the progress and how we're making progress with Game Pass, as well with some of the new announcements. Now, that is a big departure from the traditional Microsoft that we've heard. It's clear that they are betting big on content and services, accessibility. There are these segmentation studies out there that say that the younger demographic, they don't want to jump through hoops. They don't want to buy a bunch of consoles. They just want access to their games as easy as possible. And Satya Nadella also commented on this. He said, initially, for us, our investment in gaming fundamentally was to have, I'd say, the right portfolio of both what we love about gaming and always have loved about gaming, which is Xbox and the content for the console, and expand from there so that we have content everywhere people play games, starting with the PC. So they're talking about their path in the gaming sector where, yeah, they had the console. They want to make sure that they start with the PC, and now they're growing beyond that with things like Amazon Fire. He continues, we feel that now we have both the content and the ability to access all the traditional high-scale platforms where people play games, which is the console, PC, and mobile, but we're also excited about the new sockets, right? I mean, the fact that even in this last quarter, we expanded xCloud to Amazon TV, but that's the type of new access that really helps us a lot, reach new gamers or the same gamer everywhere they want to play. And that ultimately will show up in that software plus services and transaction revenue for us, which is really our long-term KPI. And that's what we're building towards. And that was the strategy behind Activision as an asset. Of course, he brings up mobile and all the important things that they've always talked about with Activision as an asset. But this is a bit of a departure from what we've heard in the past. They are saying, obviously, Game Pass is still hugely important, and they're seeing all of this growth in that sector, but they're not in hardware. And long story short, I think PlayStation isn't going to sell as much hardware as they had hoped. We're seeing them cut their forecast. We're seeing Xbox drastically lose market share in the hardware business. And that does leave me wondering, are we about to see the last generation of hardware from Microsoft? And I know that's a little hyperbolic because everybody has said it in the past, but you have to ask yourself, how long will this make business sense when things are available everywhere? I guess they do need the platform. There are metrics that show that console gamers buy more, but even the console gamer fan base has been very shaken by the acquisition and a lot of the internal changes. Let me know what you think about that thought. Do you think they should stay in the hardware business into the future, given the fact that cloud gaming is getting better and there's been all these improvements? Let me know. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. While I have you here, thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate you watching my content. Thank you so much to the members. I appreciate all of you who want to back with the membership. You can click that join button. I am still getting over the cold a little bit. You can probably hear it in my voice. Thank you so much for watching. Click that join button if you want to become a member. Check out my video yesterday about the Bungie layoffs. Really unfortunate stuff, but you're going to want to hear what was said and the information about that particular issue. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one.